Ooh.
I did it wrong.
This is getting tense now.
I'm pissed.
I am a fake
Don't
bitch.
speak to me until finale.
I am a fighter. I know how to stand up for myself.
You can right off. You don't think America's watching all that?
I don't care who anybody is. No one's ever going to be able to take the fight out of me. Period.
Period. End of story. Yes, that's right. Big Brother 24 week 3 veto episode has finished airing, but we're just getting started here on Super Mario Brothers podcasting as we're here to cover this episode and this week, and we'll even get into some spoiler coverage later on. I'm Dave Mader, joined with my brother Jeff Mader and co-host Jaemeel Robinson, riding back in an Uber from San Diego Comic-Con as we speak. Jaemeel.
I'm back. You think I could miss that many episodes of Big Brother and not, want to chomp at the bit? I'm ready. Let's go.
Let's go. Let's talk about it. This was an intense one. Pretty intense, guys. We got to see a lot going on behind the scenes. A lot of the stuff with Taylor that, we hadn't really seen on the show too much so far. It came to fruition. Jeff.
Dave, I just have to say before you even ask me a question, I officially have the 2 worst picks in BB. I can't believe I picked the 2 bullies of the show.
Nicole and Daniel. What do you make? Yeah, what do you make of this tonight? This was something else. Now I've heard a lot about like Taylor's getting bullied by the house. That's been kind of talked about a lot, but that hasn't really necessarily always been shown. I thought that this particular version of things that happened right before the veto competition, where Nicole and Daniel basically chewed out Taylor for no reason.
Yeah, it was crazy. It was, Nicole is lost in her own mind about Taylor having attitude or something when she's talking to her or something like that. And I think she just took it way too far and then riled Daniel up, who Daniel was also riling her up when she was in the bed crying. So like they're kind of like they're bad for each other in the game. My 2 picks.
Yeah, I think that's accurate. They are. There's some negative influence going on here, kind of across on both of their parts. But I don't know who the genesis of it is. But
I think it's Daniel.
So,
I'll tell you why. He's obsessed with the fact that he was the HOH the first week, that he made Taylor an enemy, and that's just the way it has to be. We saw a scene tonight where he was explaining to Nicole, like, look, like I put her up. That's and he said the same thing in the DR. And it's just like, no, you don't necessarily have to do that. You can adapt and be like, oh, maybe the person I put up is someone I want to work with. Like maybe that was a mistake. Because that is the person you should probably get to know the best, if you're the HOH or, that's how you should play it. Daniel. No.
Right. Like, so, okay.
It just goes to show you, how great of a player Dr. Will, Dan are. These type of players who can pivot so easily. These people, they say they're super fans, right? And you can be a fan of the show, but I could be a fan of the NBA. I'm not going to be Michael Jordan. And you can see it there. Like the gameplay is totally different. They can pivot. They have it in their mind that they have like a specific agenda, and that agenda does not change. They're not adaptable. And you see right there, Daniel's a terrible player, right? Not because he's a fan of. It's because he cannot adapt to the situation that's in front of him.
I'm pissed.
That is 100% accurate, I think, Dave. Like, I think Daniel's one of these players, and Nicole, they're tunnel vision. They get their mind fixed on an idea, and they won't let go of it. And Amira is a much better player, but that's why she is the smart person to target.
If you're going to go after somebody from that side, if you want to call it that now, because we see this leftovers alliance gets born in this episode, Jeff. Yes. That they're coming for dinner, says for Kyle. What it was? It's one of the most last clips I picked. Where is he? Oh,
Bring your appetites, America, because the leftovers are about to become the main course.
they're about to become the main
Is
course.
is that the next alliance, the main course? I bet you it is. $5 it is.
It was the pound. It was the leftovers. It's the pooch. It's pose something or other. Like there's been so many alliances I can't even keep track. We're only week 3 of what's going to come throughout here. But okay, like to start off the episode, we got Taylor or Turner's HOH, coming out here. He's put up Michael and Brittany. But, there's all this talk of like, oh, we have to get Taylor out. And Nicole is like, well, if I have to go up next to Taylor because she's my festy bestie, then so be it. But then like this is where the episode really starts to lose me, is where or engage me maybe, because, she comes in here, Nicole, into like one of the rooms and she says, can I have the room? And like everyone has to clear out and she just cries because Jeff, I am sick of this shit with these people who are like, I'm a competitor and I don't throw competitions and wow. Like, I'm so tired of this narrative from players. If you don't want to throw the competition, don't throw the competition, or do, but shut the fuck up and stop crying under your sunglasses. Like, what the hell?
You tell
Dad,
them.
I love this fire. I love this fire.
Oh, it's only getting started. It's only
hot.
getting started because like everyone's like, oh, did she get news about her mom and her cancer and all this stuff? And you would think that that's what she's upset about, but no, she's.
It was great TV though.
The prospect that she's gonna have to lose a competition because in her softball league she's the greatest ever or something, and she can't stand not to be the best or whatever the hell is her issue. I don't know.
We see this more on Survivor, where it's like, I'm a competitor and I just want to compete. I want to beat the best. I don't like throwing things. With Big Brother, what do you're a competitor at what? Like running and building a puzzle on top of a like a statue?
Wacky carnival games.
Wacky carnival games.
I don't lose wacky carnival games. I don't. I go for it every time. Like, why are people like this? Why is this so often?
It's a mindset some people get it to in sports that and it works for people, like a lot of great athletes think that way,
That's how they push through to win the championship.
Yeah.
But they're not great athletes. They're the type of people that when they go to a carnival, the people running the games are licking their lips. They're so excited, like, oh, so close. They're dropping like $100 to get a stupid bear that's worth $6.
Right. And I think like in this episode, she's crying because she has to throw this competition. Then she's complaining about Taylor to Daniel, right? And then we're getting all these diary room sessions kind of sprinkled in where it's like, well, we have everything locked up, but Taylor doesn't fit into our alliance. We're good with everybody in the house except for Taylor. That's why she has to go. She has to go, guys. Like, I'm like, guys, there's 14 people in the house, like, including the two of you. Like, what are you talking about? What in the fresh fuck are you talking about? In this, like, oh, Taylor, with Taylor here, the whole plan goes to hell. Like my master plan to win is never going to win with her here. It's like, it's the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
It's classic Dave players playing too hard, thinking they're better than the game or bigger than the game, where it's like, this is just what you're supposed to do. If you're the HOH the first week and you put somebody up and they stay around, you have to keep trying to get that person out. Like, that's the kind of mindset that I see from a Daniel and a Nicole. And we have Amira trying to like basically just use Yaz and certain players as numbers, and she was doing it very effectively, but now it's not going to work.
The boys are onto her, which was another part of the episode where before this they were kind of saying like, what if we go after Amira, right? In this episode, she's the head of the snake, as they say here. Right?
I think she is. Yeah.
We don't actually get to see the veto ceremony in this episode. It's like they're saving it for tomorrow night. So we'll get to it in spoilers what actually happens, but
what they did was they screwed up. They screwed up and they didn't spend enough time on all of this that happened over the long episode that we got on Sunday. And this should have been there. Some of it should have been there, and we could have got the vetoes. Everything could have been on schedule, but they
Yep.
waited until the last minute, and now this is the situation that we have in front of us.
Right. Because maybe they didn't expect to show all this stuff before, like the this drama that blew up before the veto comp. I don't know if they had that on Sunday or not.
Well, they had to show it because
Yeah.
it fits into what's going to happen at the veto meeting. You know, like that when Amanda told me, and we'll get to that later in the spoilers. But when we get to what happens at the veto meeting, that doesn't happen unless all this stuff happens. So they have to show it on the show. You know, I think they were trying to sweep it under the rug though for a while.
Well, that's the truth. They've been playing it both ways. They like to sprinkle in, Taylor getting mistreated, but at the same time, they're showing these stupid like Taylor's wearing a dress, and people are rolling their eyes, and like they're trying to have it both ways. And now it's come to the point where the truth is coming out, right? And they have to change gears in terms of their narrative, right?
I don't really get it. Like Taylor seems just like a nice person. Like I don't understand this hatred toward her. You know, it seems to be like misplaced. Like they think she's like a bratty teenager, but I don't feel like she is at all. You know, like
No, like I think everything in this whole narrative and this whole like this thing with Nicole and Taylor and Daniel before the veto comp sums up everything that's been going on in this house for 3 weeks, right? Where after like Daniel leaves, then like who's the first in to try to comfort Nicole? Taylor, and try to be nice to her, right? Joined by Amira and Yaz, and then like she's like,
Taylor, yeah, you're right, dude. Taylor's trying with them.
They don't want to hear it. They just want to hate her. They just she's not part of their plans. They've talked themselves into this idea that she's a bad person, right? That's all they have to think about 24/7 for 21 days.
Why do you think? Okay, what I think it was kind of brought up today, like in the episode by Daniel, with this whole thing about Paloma. Like, do you think this whole thing goes back to Paloma and Paloma didn't trust this girl?
It does.
Yeah, right.
Okay, so let me try to summarize it for everyone. Okay, so Daniel and Nicole blame what happened with Paloma with Taylor because Taylor was going on about making sure your mental health and everything. So when Nicole started to cry, right, and Taylor went to comfort her, right? Key things that Taylor said, Nicole got in her head that Taylor was trying to trick her, quote unquote, trick her into quitting the game, right? And that set them off, right? They have this narrative in their head that Taylor is a terrible person and they have tunnel vision and they don't want to change it. This also goes into the reason why you want to get rid of Amira instead of Taylor or Daniel. Because if you're on the other side of the house, you don't want someone who's smart enough to pivot like Amira, right? And leave them in the house. You want to leave the people that are so bullheaded that their path is so clear that you can easily make plans around their foolish decisions. And that Nicole and Daniel are playing that to a T.
Mm-hmm.
Taylor's trying to manipulate and capitalize in this moment while Nicole's in a vulnerable state.
When he said that shit about like America's watching you and all that nonsense, I'm like, no, man, like America's watching you too. Like like I don't understand how you not have no self-awareness of what you're doing.
You can right off. You don't think America's watching all that?
He's like, just from this moment on, stop with the lays. No more lays.
Stop. From this point on, just stop.
With the lays?
With the lays?
With the
lays? I love that. Like, I love that. Like, she was just chill. Like, she seems like a very chill, cool person. I don't understand why they're treating her this way. It makes no sense.
So, if you listen to Paloma's exit interviews, she's delusional. She needs help, right?
Yes.
And she's like, what you see in the live feeds isn't exactly all that happens. Which I'm like, wait, what? That's the stance you're going to take? So I think a lot of people have that kind of mindset that they have the narrative in their head and it doesn't really matter what happens. Like they fit it.
It needs to be true because after 3 weeks of living it, it has to be true. How could they go back and look stupid? Right? Like.
Yeah, and it's also easy target. Get the easy target. No, it's not me.
Not
people,
me. Anybody but me.
Yeah,
But you don't have to take. But what they did here, I guess and I agree with you, Mary, that I think it started off they didn't like her because she's a pretty pageant girl, especially for Paloma, who started this like she's not in the clique, right? And they started girls because Taylor wasn't a girl's girl, and neither was Nicole. Nicole wasn't in that either, but Brittany was. But I think it's just based on who was in the room at the time when that kind of formed. And now it's like, well, now she's the public enemy. Jeff, I go back to like Big Brother 16 and Donnie always, right? Who was the nicest guy, right? He was just tickle pink, right? But even like I remember like Cody and Derek and Frankie and these guys, they would pile on and they would just in their heads, they'd go, Donnie is like the worst human being ever. They almost have to like punch themselves in the face to get all pumped up to hate somebody who they don't really hate. But that person is in their way, in their mind, towards winning the game.
That's how they motivate themselves. They're the hero. The other person, the opposition, is the villain that needs to be stopped. They have this hero complex, and they want to win. So they keep telling the lies that they tell themselves to keep motivated, to keep going. Donnie's the worst person in the world. Taylor, she's a deceptive, manipulative piece whatsoever, right? We see it time and time again.
Yeah, I guess if you come into the house with like the predisposition that certain players are going to be gaming hard, looking to cut your throat, and you're kind of got your back against the wall. If you feel like that way, and you're like, you have to trust your gut, and whoever gives you bad vibes, you have to like, kind of, go toward that. And like, I feel like Nicole's whole thing here, where she wanted to be put up on the block with Taylor, was just like a complete overplay. She didn't need to do it. If it happened, okay, but like I don't understand where this.
I think for Daniel, she's almost doing it for Daniel, because Daniel, in Daniel's mind, he can never work with Taylor because he put her up and she survived the block, and et cetera, et cetera.
And something about Paloma, like what in the hell did Taylor do to make like that was a ridiculous thing. I couldn't believe that he said that. Like I was like, what? Like. From what I've observed, it didn't seem anything like that. The hilarious
thing is Paloma didn't even like Daniel. Paloma doesn't even like Daniel. The first night they were like, we need to get rid of Daniel. So it's insane.
I wish they would have. He won the first HOH.
Like, do you think there's something to the fact that Paloma was kind of going through a rough time right before she left, right? Like right before she left, she was going through a rough time because she was actually like to Taylor's face being one way, whereas she was struggling the same way Nicole was struggling tonight, right?
Yeah, I'm telling you, Taylor.
Like I'm telling you, Taylor, right now, I don't even want to hear it. And I'd rather go to sleep than hear you try to explain yourself because I'm so tired. And that sounds rude. Is that rude? Am I being rude?
Rude. Yeah.
Am I being really rude to you?
Just a little bit.
Just a little bit. Like that's really what's going on here again. But now Daniel's doing it. So
and Nicole.
Yeah.
But Nicole was doing it in a much more. She talks about passive aggressive, and she doesn't like being passive aggressive, and Taylor was being passive aggressive. She's fucking passive aggressive as all hell. She was a cop for 10 years.
I was a cop for 10 years. I am a fighter. I know how to stand up for myself.
Do ya?
Really? You didn't confront her when you were so upset in the room. You went and bitched about it behind her back and made everyone basically riled them all up so that when you did confront her, you thought you would have support, which then you didn't. Like it all backfired on her. It was complete
huge on both of them.
On both.
I think the leftovers alliance, like I think it's formed at the end of this episode with Taylor in it, because of what happens here.
Yeah.
I think like Joseph and Kyle and a couple of the others, they're just like, what the heck? Like, what's this about? Like, why? This can't have looked good on the show. Like, I don't want to be associated with that. So, why not work with Taylor? She's a competitor anyway, and she's not that bright. So, therefore, I can probably work with her down the stretch.
Yeah, Daniel and Nicole are going to hit the block a lot going forward. That's my opinion.
Yeah, I saw this graphic came up today on one of the Big Brother forums. It's like the whole the lawful, neutral, and chaotic, and then evil, neutral, and good. So
Chaotic neutral is Indy. That's hilarious.
chaotic neutral being Indy. I don't know if you can see this, Jaemeel.
Lawful neutral.
Yeah.
Lawful good.
With Amira being lawful evil, Daniel being neutral evil, Nicole being chaotic evil, which is the worst of them all.
This is pretty great. Actually,
yeah.
I agree with every one of them.
And I love Terrence in the bill. He's
Terrence
neutral.
Terrence and Indy.
Yeah, and then the good people, I suppose, right?
Dave, did you get the indie clip where she talks about the dragon rising?
Oh, I think I did. Yeah. What did your mom call you? No, I didn't get that yet. No, sorry. I had.
Oh Lord.
Oh Lord.
Yeah. No, I didn't get that
Indy
one.
was barely in this episode. There was a few people barely in the altercation. Like I think, like they showed Turner and he was in his bed. He was like
Alyssa.
Alyssa wasn't there.
Yeah, Alyssa wasn't there. Even though Turner's the HOH, he's not in it a ton.
No, he just has a few conversations with people, really. And it's
Right.
funny, like I actually really liked this episode because at the beginning Turner was like, "Yeah, it seems to make a lot of sense to get Taylor out," and you really saw the evolution of what happened over a course of like a week. You
Right.
know, like I really enjoyed this episode of Big Brother because it was what I want from the show. I want you to show me how the game evolved in like 1 week and why it did, and tell that story.
Well, what did you think? Okay, just to kind of go back to the earlier point in the episode, because there's this conversation around the pool table with Monty and Taylor earlier on, and like he's like, "Well, why haven't you opened up?" Because I think they see Taylor as a loner, someone who hasn't had much luck making friends, particularly with the girls. A lot of that having to do with Paloma, as we know, and maybe Nicole and Amira and a few others, but who it's benefiting them to keep her sort of on the outsides. She talked about like growing up and having, I don't know, like racism within the Black community and within other minorities. I have some awareness of this but I don't have much a full understanding of it. But does this conversation do something to convince Monty that Taylor is maybe not what others say she is?
Yeah. I think that's exactly why it's in the show, Dave. It's a show that Monty and Taylor are going to start to understand each other. I think they were putting Taylor in this, they were labeling her really right from the beginning of the show. And now it's like you spend enough time with people, you start talking to them, you're like, no, they're just a regular person, and actually they're really nice, and you usually get to know them, and you change your mind. You should, but some people in this house are not doing that,
Right.
So that's a shame.
Right. So like Monty willing to adapt, it seems, and kind of evolve, versus Daniel and Nicole, who are just like spiraling out of control because that HOH didn't go Daniel's way.
Yeah, exactly. Like, dude, you won the first HOH. Don't think you're gonna win the game with whoever you got out the first week. That's not how it works. You need to network. You need to play nice with everybody. Like he didn't do any of that. He just kind of like built his he's like, I'm tight to Nicole and that's it. And then anything else, I'll just kind of float my way around. Like this terrible strategy. Like everything he did, I was like, ugh. And then Nicole. I thought she had a chance with the girls even. I was like, okay, she seems like she's in a strong position in the house. No. Now she's completely imploded. And these two draft picks, Dave, are my two worst ever.
Yeah.
I don't care who anybody is. No one's ever going to be able to take the fight out of me.
Period. Yeah. No, don't you take the fight out of Nicole.
And don't talk to me till finale.
And don't you talk to me. You're dead to me.
From here on out, do not speak to me.
He's like, do not speak to me till the finale. And I love Taylor. Are you taking me to the finale?
Yeah,
are you taking me to final two?
I couldn't believe this guy, man. Like I was like, what are you doing? Like, what a child.
Even if he wants to take on face value what she said, what he's saying, Nicole tells Daniel that Taylor said it's okay if you want to quit or if it's okay, right? Is that really what you're going to tell her not to talk to you about for the rest of life? You don't want to get any context or information there?
Yeah, like it's brutal. Like it's just like, is that how you treat people in real life? Like, do you just cut them out or like yell at them and just be like, get out of my face, I never see you again? Like, is that how you? Oh man, it's
Yeah, I just think like and obviously like Taylor's in tears trying to like apologize because at first like she goes to Daniel blows up at her. She doesn't even understand why, and then she looks at Nicole and goes, "What's up? What's happening?" She's like, "Well, you'll just have to talk to him about it."
yeah, doesn't take any ownership for.
And then when she goes to try to talk to Daniel, he blows up at her. But this at least lets Taylor know, oh, it's about Nicole. It's because Nicole's mad at me, right?
And it's
so
like, yeah, it's like Nicole should have just owned up to it right there. Like, why did she make her go get yelled at Daniel by even more? Like, that's what she did.
Yeah, he's like, don't you even come over here. Don't you even come over here, Taylor. You no, I just told you never to talk to me again.
Yeah, I walked over here to talk to Amira and Yaz because I didn't want to talk to you.
Yeah, and now you're here, and now how dare you? How dare you say these things to Nicole?
You were supposed to be gone.
You were supposed to be gone, and now I'm yelling at you across the room, and you just see like I kept looking at the other house guests, like they're all like, what the hell is happening?
Yeah, they're all traumatized. So,
right?
Oh, this is not good.
Yeah,
we're turning into season 15 all over again.
If you were there, if you're like Michael in that situation, Jeff, do you say anything or do you just let this play out?
That's a good question. It's hard, like
let's be honest with ourselves. Most likely you're not going to say anything. You'll just be like, holy crap, this person's burying themselves. Because you can't listen to that conversation and just say, are you insane? This is on television and this is the approach that you're taking to solve this issue. Oh my gosh. And then you pick up the pieces in the end.
Right, but when you see you see Taylor in pain, with her cried, and doesn't she deserve sympathy? Like apparently Nicole did a few minutes ago.
Yes, but at the same time, the social dynamics of the house. You're going to follow up with her afterwards.
Right, which is what happens ultimately,
yes. And look, it's going to be rare that someone's going to stop the conversation right then and there just because of the power dynamics, right? Now, Kyle should have stepped in, right? People of that nature. Michael, who's at the bottom, even though he's in alliances, I can understand why one wouldn't step in.
What about Terrence?
Yeah, Terrence
is just happy to be there
because he was right up close. You can see he's right in there.
Where? Oh, there he is. Yeah, okay.
He's on the right. The fight generally happens mostly in the bathroom. And Monty's present, Terrence is present, Joseph is kind of like there, but they're all three of them are not saying anything. They're just kind of watching this play out.
Monty was watching it too. It was. He could have stood up and said something. You know what I mean? Like he didn't.
Or just say like maybe you guys need a minute to cool off and then come back to this or something, right? But maybe to Jameel's point, like let them bury themselves. Let them ruin their game.
It's hard not to, like you're on a show and you're like, well, the less you act sometimes, the better. You don't want to put your foot in your mouth and really ruin your game. So you're just kind of always observing.
Look at that hand Monty put on Nicole's leg there. He's trying to console her. And they're all wearing sunglasses. Like these friggin' sunglasses inside. In the bathroom. So I guess so no one can see their eyes. Is this a poker game?
I do feel like Daniel and Nicole are playing this game way too hard. They're looking at it like it's on hard mode and they need to, go balls to the walls and it's just crazy. It's just like chill out. Get to know the people. Why we
right? You got a long time to go in this game living with these people.
Yeah, you don't the number one rule of Big Brother is don't make enemies with real enemies with anybody.
And if you do, at least pretend to make up.
Yeah.
Right. Ultimately, we've seen people scream at each other and whatever, and then they go on to live with each other and go to party in Vegas together. But maybe that will happen with this cast. I don't know, but it feels
everyone's going to make up at the end, and they're going to be besties, but not really besties. But
besties.
Yeah, besties. All right, fellas. I'm sorry. I got a jet. It was nice talking to be with you, and I hope to continue talking in the very near future.
I guess we'll catch up Sunday because we Jeff and I are playing hockey tomorrow night, trying to keep our playoff life alive.
You guys are gonna win. Don't worry. Remember, the other team is the enemy, and they're evil no matter what they do.
They're evil no matter what. And how dare they tell me if it's okay to quit?
How dare they get in your way? How dare they?
No. Don't even talk to me, other team, until the finale. Milton Bombers. So.
All right. Be well, everyone. Sam, everyone else, have a good night.
And, Jaemeel, welcome back.
Thanks. It's good to be back.
Yeah. Jeff, what did you think of the actual competition? Woodstack.
It was pretty whatever. I mean, okay, we didn't even talk, Dave, about the Yaz passing.
The Yaz of it all.
God damn. I mean, she's already on a scooter. She has a cast on her ankle. She passes out just from being in the harness. Just the thought of going up like 6 feet.
Yeah, like how far up was this? Like I'm afraid of heights too. I don't want to disparage it, Jeff. But let's have a look here how far they were. So, okay, like Michael's pretty tall. I would say that it's twice as tall as Michael.
Maybe 2.5 even.
Yeah.
You know.
Okay. But you're in a harness and whatever.
18 feet, maybe. Like, something like that, 20 feet.
I'll tell you this. I didn't buy it. Her little pass out thing.
Yeah, she drives me nuts. I mean, she is the what was the girl from New York last year? It's me.
It's me. Oh, it's
Brittany. She's kind of the Brittany of this cast, where she's like so hard to watch in the DR, but on the show you're like,
it's me!
Yeah. She kind of reminds me of that caricature type. Oh my god, she's
because you see here, like I was confused. I was as confused as Amira is here. Like, what is happening?
Yeah, it wasn't even that. She had to wear a suit, and
she had to wear a harness. And like, okay, just when they go to commercial here,
she looked like she was dead,
or she was like, I don't know. Is this like, was she literally in some kind of like a vegetative state here?
Yeah, like I laughed. I was like, it's like they picked that to leave the show off, and I was like, it looks like the Sixth Sense,
I think she's allergic to competitions, Jeff.
Yeah, I think so.
I don't think she likes being in these competitions. I think she's got anxiety around how she's going to be viewed as a comp threat or not. Because remember when, like in that one that she ended up rolling her ankle on the coming down, she did it pretty well, as I recall. Like that was just like an obstacle course. Like, I think she won her heat, right, against Terrence. And then she bowed out of that other one. Like I rolled my ankle, like I remember right before the curling season, like 10 years ago. It sucks. I know what it's like, but you can function. Like she had an air cast on, and I don't know. So it ends up being, instead of a 3-way battle, it's just a 2-way battle instead.
Which I kind of didn't like. I wish they brought another Festy Bestie group in to compete.
Well, I'm like, what's the point here?
Not?
Why not? They built the friggin' stack. No, it has to be the HOH and why can't you give Turner a new partner?
Yeah, well, that I disagree with. I would do a whole new fuck the HOH. That's a whole thing. Like in Australian Big Brother, Dave.
Oh yes, Australian Big Brother. I was waiting for how long of a reference we would have to take.
In Australian Big Brother, a lot of the times the HOH, the head of house, has nothing to do with nominations, and their nominations come from like a collective vote,
Right.
So like if they, with this, and who gets to be in the competition, especially on the so what they do is they nominate 3 people sometimes, and then they have to do a second chance challenge with all 3 people, and whoever wins gets safe, and then the remaining 2 people remain on the block. They could do something like that,
Yeah. And like the only thing that was interesting to me about the competition was kind of like the diary rooms themselves, because like it was like, well, obviously everyone who wanted Michael and
Yeah. Brittany were the
Brittany,
people
sorry.
on the wrong side of the house.
Yeah, everyone wanted Michael and Brittany to win it so that they could backdoor somebody else. Okay, first of all, even if they had put up Taylor, it wouldn't have been a backdoor because Taylor played in the veto. Now, maybe since Nicole's trying to throw the competition,
They just use that term now.
but I don't think they would have won anyway. Even if Nicole and Taylor had tried here, I don't think they would have won against this team. I think that but it was nice. It was kind of nice to see how happy Brittany was, because this is Michael's third veto win in a row, but Brittany's first, of course, as a co-winner of it with Michael. It was I don't know. I was kind of. She's not my favorite house guest, but she has her moments.
I think she's able to adapt, like Jaemeel was saying. Like, I think she has. I think she'll do okay.
How did you roll? How did I roll it? I rolled it in ball hockey. Like we were playing on this gym floor in like a school that was like kind of like a rubber floor, and I just rolled it all of a sudden. Speaking of Brittany, though, she's going through this competition as a Hulk woman. She said, right. And did she I can't remember a She-Hulk, perhaps. She saw her husband here appear.
Yeah.
At the end of the obstacle course.
Are you asking if it was actually her husband?
I think it was.
Yeah, I think it was.
But it was so strange. It
was weird. It was really weird in the episode.
I'm trying to see if I can find it. I may have skipped over it in that part of the recording, but yeah, it's like they took him out of a photo and then they superimposed him into the end of the obstacle course.
Yeah, I can't believe they did that. It was hilarious, but it was...
we don't know him.
No,
we haven't seen him yet.
No, all we know of him as a stick ghost figure.
He was like this 2-dimensional character that showed up, cut out of a magazine and pasted into the show. Anyway, so that was something bizarre. Anyway, so but seemingly everything's going well here, and then there's sort of this whole conversation where it starts off with Joseph kind of talking to some of the guys about we had to go through this plan to get Amira out because they had already the pound. Pooch had been run out of the pound, Jeff, and they were the pound, but the pound becomes the leftovers by the end of this episode.
Yep, pretty much.
Effectively, they kind of talk about it. I don't know how they decide to bring in Brittany. Is that Michael's idea?
Yeah, I would imagine so. And, this big alliance is kind of really Kyle as the mastermind. I don't think we're giving him enough credit on this episode. He's doing really, really good work in the house. He pivoted. He easily could have stuck with Alyssa and gone with these girls. That would not have been good for him, though.
Right. Well, I think a lot of the guys have clued into that there's a girls alliance. Remember, Kyle talks about, I talked to Alyssa about the girls thing, and
she let it slip.
She let it slip, and worse than that, she played it nervous.
Yeah.
Right. If you get caught, I think that's how do you, if you're if someone puts you on the spot in the Big Brother house about your alliance or about something, if you choose in that moment, okay, I'm going to come clean about this, but I'm going to try to deflect it or whatever, or I'm going to say, well, that was a thing, but it's not anymore.
Half truth.
A half truth. Yeah. You can't seem nervous about it. Right. I think it's just the big lesson here I took from it. Or reminder, I suppose. It seems obvious, but it's I think that moment led to part of this, right? At least for Kyle's trajectory, right? And coming together. And so Monty then approaches Taylor while she's alone in the HOH. She's like, hey, if you want to meet me tonight in the HOH room, something might happen. Right. And she's just, and she's like, well, she's got nothing else to do. Right. Why?
She needed just somebody like that. Like Monty has been that person for her to kind of just extend a hand and be like, hey, come hang out. That's kind of what it felt like to me.
Right. And so they come together in the room here. You got Turner, who I feel they talk about like, let's get the leftovers together. Let's get the outsiders together. We talk about this every season. I don't know if Monty is really an outsider or a leftover.
No, he's
but
the one that is not.
yeah, he's kind of the one who doesn't seem like he would necessarily be in this, but I feel like, it's come together. Obviously they're going to go after Amira here. This is like the power alliance, because that the Pound kind of started and then becomes the leftovers, but it's got, like, it seems like Brittany and Taylor, well, obviously for Taylor, like, why wouldn't she be thrilled with this? Right.
Yeah, they
but
basically served it to her on her lap, and she's gonna eat that,
right.
I mean?
But for Brittany's standpoint, who was in Girls, right, like, she could have stuck with that, or she could have like played double agent here or whatever. But she seems not willing to, because she's obviously close with Michael, and she feels like, even though she's in the girls, that she's definitely at the bottom of it, that she doesn't fit in with like the clique.
Yeah, I think she knows that that's not going to win her the game either. You know what I mean? Like, at a certain point, you need to be like, okay, what's my best path to get to the end? And when you have to like watch the house and how it reacts and how it moves. It's a living organism, and it's not just going to be a girls' alliance to the end. Like people want it to be, or so, for some reason,
Right.
It's,
well, I think they like the idea of that being like the season, like the story of the season. I think especially for Amira, who I think like the guys have kind of seen through, right?
Big Brother isn't as hard as I thought it was going to be.
It's not as hard.
Amira and Paloma would have been a fierce like duo,
had Paloma stayed.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I think you're right. I think that they would have like probably run this thing for a while. I think they would have been, like one competition difference, right? Because they even talked about how Amira in that competition with Turner in this HOH, that she was seconds away from winning, right?
Yep.
And so they decided, like, why not target her if Turner can barely beat her? And I was like, I don't know why that's a thing, but
I mean, it was she did good in the competition, but that's not the only reason to get rid of her. The main reason to get rid of her is that she's the smartest one on the other side of the house. As strategically, so you get rid of her, and then who's left? I mean, Daniel, Terrence,
Alyssa,
Nicole, Alyssa.
Is Terrence even in their numbers?
Why
isn't Terrence in this leftovers alliance?
Yeah, he should be there instead of Monty.
You would think, right? But it's Monty, or Turner even, right? But I guess they need Turner for this renom to create this alliance. So being the HOH at the right time seems to be as big of a thing as any. Because remember when McCrae was in the moving company?
Yeah, Turner reminds me so much of McCrae. So such a similar play, or
yeah, barely knows what's going on, but kind of also, I don't know. Yeah, so Amira has no idea this is coming. Kyle, who remember is Daniel's bestie.
Right.
Like, is he?
So that's actually smart. The alliance he's creating, Daniel would be like a number one target. So if he sits on the block next to him, that might be smart to try and get him out.
For sure. Yeah. I really liked how this was like coming together here at the end, and then just to, except I would have liked to have seen the competition itself, because I like it ends here with Amira having no idea this is coming, right?
Yeah.
We're assuming they're gonna follow through here. And Jeff, question here from Sam is, what do you think's the bigger blindside? Is this or Stephanie in Big Brother Canada 10?
Did I watch Big Brother Canada 10?
You did. We did a whole podcast series on it.
Which one was Stephanie?
Stephanie was the one who didn't know that Canada had Great Lakes.
It's helping.
No.
Sort of. What did she look like?
She,
the DMs are popping.
She had like the big boob dress.
Was that right? Was that a good blindside? Yes, but will Amira be a blindside like that? I don't think so, because when we get to the spoilers, you'll see why.
Well, I think it's going to be different, because I think Amira is going to know she's the target between her and Terrence. Are they going to tell her Terrence is the target?
I don't know. No, that's not what happens. Amanda told me what happened at the thing, so we can
talk spoilers.
Well, I don't know if you know about what happened.
I not really. So we can get into spoilers, but yeah, like I think that with the Stephanie blindside, like Stephanie was up there against Josh, I believe, right? And if in Big Brother Canada 10, like third week, and Josh stayed, and Stephanie went. I think I'm remembering that right. So it's that one where like they say like Stephanie, you've been evicted, and like her jaw dropped. I don't think we'll see that with Amira, probably, unless they're completely going to convince her that she's somehow a pawn here. And this is a power play move to take out Terrence, a backdoor to Terrence, because we're worried about his his competition prowess.
Yeah.
Okay, well, let's get into spoilers because they didn't get to like the actual veto ceremony, which I feel like is what at bare minimum what they should give us on a Wednesday night. Like, tell us, was the veto used? Who are the final nominations? Let's talk about going into Thursday, especially on a week like this where Jeff and I won't be covering tomorrow night's episode. We'll have to catch up Sunday in terms of who gets evicted ultimately. But yeah, let's look ahead and talk and speculate about what's to come. All right, and if you're going out here, make sure to check us out Sunday, and we'll be back. All right, spoiler warning. Here we are. Yeah, little Brittany there. So Jeff,
Yes.
tell me about the veto ceremony.
I don't. Okay, all I've heard is that Turner basically has a big dig on Amira, basically saying like, "Hey, like you didn't work with me, like you basically shrugged me off, all my ideas, and then you also like basically kind of throws it back in her face, and that's why
He gives a dramatic speech when he does this.
He does a dramatic speech, and he kind of like he throws Amira like under the bus, like basically just like
she's my target, basically saying to the whole house,
yes.
Amira's my target, and I have good reasons for nominating her.
And she even admitted like later, like, yeah, I did do that. You know, what he said was true. You know, so
okay. So and any reaction from Terrence that has been reported on?
Terrence was very upset. It seems like that Amira and him got put on the block. He was very mad at Turner. He didn't understand it. He thought he was good with Turner.
Yeah, he wanted to be Turner's bestie, didn't he? And it was Jasmine took it away from him, or am I remembering that? No, Amira took it away from him. Amira picked him to be the bestie. So he's like, if Amira hadn't picked me, I would have been safe with Turner.
Yeah, which might be good for him. You know, you never know. Like the person that doesn't have a bestie might have some sort of safety. You never know.
Yeah. Well, why take out Terrence here, right? Like, what would be the if you were even going to hypothetically flip this? What would be the reason to? Like, if you're the leftovers, is there any good reason to go back on this at this point? I can't think of one. No,
I don't think so.
Like devil's advocate, like something way out there. There can't be, right? Like Amira is.
Why would you take Terrence out instead?
Yeah, is there any reason to flip this vote?
No,
and keep Amira. I guess.
No, Amira's got no chance. She's gone.
Yeah, and I'm going to be down a drafty, Jeff. I thought she was looking good in this game, and I think she would have been had she had Paloma.
Yes,
and even if there hadn't been like these twists, like if they had gotten out Taylor week 1, right, and Paloma, and then Amira had gone on from there.
Yeah, Paloma leaving changed this whole game. Because she also, the way she left mattered too, because she never really made amends with Taylor for what she was doing to Taylor when she was in the house. Like, this is very important because that didn't happen. Daniel and Nicole have this idea in their head that Taylor is the reason why Paloma left.
Yeah.
Right? Where in a way, it's because Paloma's obsession with Taylor was embarrassing and she was lying to everybody about it. Like, that was what was going on. You know, she was kind
of her dad pulled her from the game.
Well, that's what the rumor, but you know, it wasn't going to be pretty for her if she kind of continued doing that toward Taylor. But because she left and there was no really there was nothing reconciled.
Oh, don't
Daniel and
worry.
Nicole went on to do the
they're
same
like,
stuff.
We'll foster this. We'll give this sunshine. We'll let this weed grow.
An idea spreads, maybe, you know, like, is that kind of what happened here? That's how I feel.
I think you're right. Yeah. Comment from Mary Bass. She's saying Nicole and Daniel wanted to vote Amira out, but they think she has the votes to stay.
Well,
So
that's interesting because
but that's not true, is it? Like that can't be.
Well,
true.
yeah, that would make sense. They would be out of the loop, Dave, on the leftovers. They wouldn't really know what's going on.
Right.
And
So I don't think I'd even be more pissed if they're on the other side of the vote. Because there's 14 people. Turner doesn't vote. Does Jasmine vote as the festy bestie HOH?
See, that's a good question. We'll have to see.
Because they haven't mentioned that, right?
I think she would vote.
She would vote. Okay, let's say she does vote. So that means the 2 nominees, the 3. I'm just trying to do the math here quick. So what is there, like 11 votes?
Okay. So how many of the leftovers? So there's 6 people, right?
7 in the leftovers.
Right, but one of them.
But Turner's one of them, so he doesn't vote.
Right. So you got 6 votes. That's enough.
That's half right there.
That's enough.
And so
they don't even need Daniel and Nicole to get whoever they want.
But who else votes? So forget Daniel and Nicole. Who's left? Who are the leftovers from the leftovers? You got
Indy,
Alyssa,
Amira,
and Jasmine.
Daniel, Nicole.
No, Amira's gonna be on the block, so she's not gonna vote.
Right.
But do you think that those people are gonna vote to save Amira?
I think Indy will.
For Nicole and Daniel to think this, like Mary Bass is saying, they have to be voting to save her. So this will be a 6-5 vote.
No, he's saying they want to get her out. But
they want to, but
that's
how
out of the loop they are, Dave. They're like thinking, oh, let's get Amira out.
Well, but I guess my question is are Indy and Alyssa and Jasmine going to be out of the loop on this vote as well?
Right, because they would want to save Amira.
Right, you think? I guess. I don't know where Indy's head is at in this game, but I think that's who she's with, right?
Right. It seems to like Amira is like a friend of theirs. I don't know though. Like, we'll see in the votes.
So a 6-5 vote. That what would be the like sort of ramifications of that? Is it going to create like 2 distinct sides?
It could. I think people like Alyssa and Indy and these players are gonna notice that they're
Jasmine.
Yeah, Jasmine's she was gonna be like Kingpin or whatever, and now she's just like on a scooter.
Butterbeans.
Yeah, she was rocking the show for like a good few days, and now she's on the IR.
Well, she got a pooch, like that took a
toll. She got a pooch, and it's like her leg got blown off in war, and she, like everything.
And then she has that little squeak that goes by every time she comes, which I think they just dial up on the sound. But like without Amira, let's say that is a 6-5 vote. Like the 5 people who are on the other side of that vote, plus I guess you have Terrence, who's going to be the survivor potentially of this, right?
Do you know what I think is going to happen with the twist?
Like he won't have a festy bestie.
Yeah, so I think he will be safe from being nominated next week. Okay,
but then they go the way to say that wasn't the case.
I don't know if they did, but that's how I feel anyway. Like this, if I were them, this is what I would do, Dave. I would make sure he's safe for a week, right? Another festy bestie gets cut in half, and then Terrence joins up with the remaining festy bestie, and then you know.
Yeah, well, this was the part that was driving me nuts about Nicole, because Nicole was like, "Oh, I'll go up on the block with Taylor because if I survive that, I won't have a festy bestie anymore, and then I'm going to get some great power or some kind of great protection or whatever." And then, like, I think Julie said, "Well, actually, the surviving member will be a twist, or there'll be something that will come their way, but not necessarily safety." And this is where Nicole starts to implode. Like, "Oh my God, I have to throw a competition. I'm a competitor. Nobody takes the fight out of me." And but it's more this anxiety of that you might go home. Like, it's interesting to see these contestants in both Survivor and in Big Brother, how desperate they get. Like I understand kind of why, you go through this whole casting process. You're finally on a show, the excitement of being on that show. You just want to be on the show maybe as long as possible. Winning the show seems like a dream, like a long shot. So you just want to see, how long you can go for here. But it's like, I don't know, like Survivor, for instance, where sometimes I'm like, draw the rocks, go for it, play hard, take a risk. And stop whining about it, right? They whine about the risk so much.
That's what going for it is all about.
Is that like a Probst?
Yeah, Probst. You gotta play hard.
You gotta play hard,
and you gotta dig.
You gotta dig, and that's what Survivor is all about.
That's what it's all about.
Because that is what Survivor is about. It is about pushing yourself to your personal limit, and then seeing if you got one more step.
One more step. I love the way he ends his sentence.
One more step.
Pizza under the stars.
Ooh. Yeah. I think he should just read audiobooks, Jeff.
Yeah, no, he's awesome. Like he's that's what he's become, is like a narrative voice.
What's the vibe?
What's the vibe of this tribe?
This tribe. Yeah, no, he's great.
Yeah. We need some probes on here. Anyway, so Amir is up. There's how anything else spoiler wise that we would want to get into from the feeds?
There's a thing where Kyle says a lot of times with big votes at tribal council, people get up and start talking and chaos ensues. That method could be leveraged in Big Brother. So maybe that's to come.
I would hate that. Like, they're specifically not allowed to talk during the vote.
Yeah.
I hate it on Survivor. I hate it when they get up and they have their little whisper sessions and Jeff just lets it happen.
Yeah, I don't like it either. There's certain rules, I think, in tribal council. You should have to sit on your stump. You should,
you shouldn't be allowed to get up and go across.
No. Maybe
you can gesture to someone next to you. That's something. Or make a face.
Yeah, I really didn't like when they changed that. I do think they should be able to talk when they're going to vote, though, in Survivor. I have no problem with that.
Talk like when they get up?
Yeah, like when people go get up to vote, but they don't do it for, I think, because of fairness reasons. Because they want people like, oh, that person's gone, and you say, but they still do talk a bit, but they monitor it, I believe. If anything,
you mean when they actually get voted out?
When they're actually voting, when they go up one by one in Survivor, you're not supposed to talk about anything game.
What you can say, like, "Oh, I hope this rain stops" or something.
Or you can say something.
But what if you made signals up with the other contestants, like
codes? That would be fine in my opinion. But
yeah, I'm sure it's been done.
Yeah.
Question here. Well, it's more of a comment here from Sam. He says he's watching the challenge, Jeff, USA, and he can give us updates. I know it's like Survivor people versus Big Brother people versus Amazing Race people.
Right.
Doing something. Challenging themselves. Okay. But I don't really know anything else about the challenge. I know Foster talks about it. And I know it's got a lot of alumni from these shows, but I guess I need what's the concept?
I don't need to see Kylan. You know what I mean? I mean, I'll watch. I don't want to put it down because I do think it's probably good, but at the same time, I'm like, I don't want to watch Xavier and Kyla. I already saw those guys last summer for 3 months.
Right.
You know what I mean? Yeah. I've had enough.
Yeah, you had enough of what? But Jeff, Kobe doesn't back down from a challenge.
Kobe doesn't step down from the challenge. He accepts it.
I thought that's what we talked about.
If your nephew has nobody to look up to.
If your nephew has somebody to look up to.
Are they a team? Are they a team on the challenge?
I think they're on it together. Yeah. I think they're on the same team.
The challenge is a reality competition. Okay, I knew that part. Featuring alumni. I knew that part. But what's the purpose of the show? It varies season to season. I don't know what's going on with the show, guys. I'm trying. but I don't understand it, and I haven't tried it. Maybe I would like it. I don't know. But we're glad you like it. And I guess if I had to, Jeff, would you cheer if you had to? Would you have a favorite between those 3 alumni casts? Would you cheer for Survivor players over Big Brother players, or would you just
probably Survivor first, Big Brother second, Amazing Race your third?
For sure,
third.
Yeah.
They're third.
Distant third.
Distant third. You know.
Yeah. You know, how many like couples can I see argue about getting directions?
Do you know, like Amazing Race Canada? They're doing it again, only in Canada. It's terrible.
Lame.
It's terrible.
It's not amazing. That's just a race.
It's just the Canadian race.
Let's call it the Canadian race or something.
Yeah.
It's not unamazing. Amazing.
I mean, Canada is big, but man, as cool as going somewhere else.
Well, maybe if you're going to do it all in a car or something, maybe. But like,
the Amazing Race, like literally, COVID was the worst thing for the Amazing Race because every country you go into, you have to like quarantine.
Right. Yeah, it's like the worst thing they could possibly do. Like Survivor is actually better because they can quarantine, get there, and then do the show, right?
Yeah. Even that.
Amazing.
Did they lose a whole year of seasons? Did they lose 2 seasons?
At least half for Survivor. At least half a season. I think Amazing Race. But I think who's the guy who does Amazing Race? Phil Keoghan.
Yeah.
He's doing like Tough as Nails as well, right? So he's got the 2 shows to keep him busy.
That probably is like a month-long shoot or whatever, Amazing Race or whatever. You know what I mean? That's probably not that bad.
Probably. I guess not, right? Because it's meant to go fast, and it's expensive, obviously, because you got to fly people everywhere and set up production in all these different places.
That's why you need it to be short.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No. I loved the season that Boston Rob and Amber were on.
Right.
And that's really the only season I've really ever watched.
I watched a bunch of other ones. The Twinnies that I watched, they were on Amazing Race twice before they got to Survivor.
Right. I know that. I remember them from Survivor. And then I think I watched the first Amazing Race in Canada, but that was only in Canada, only because it had the people from Body Break participation. If you know what I'm talking about, tell us in the comments. Joanne McLeod and the other guy. Hal Johnson. That's right. Stay fit and have fun.
Body Break. Oh yeah, Body Break.
All right. Well, Jeff, I think we can get out of here and we can close the book on this episode, which was explosive. I did enjoy this. I want some drama in the house sometimes, you know.
Yeah.
And I think we got it here, and it was kind of like a nice uptake on the roller coaster. All right. So, like we said, we won't be here tomorrow night. If we get eliminated from our hockey tournament, we will have free nights more. If not, we'll have to go from there. But if we can tie up the series tomorrow, we are going to try to. So go Admirals against the Milton Bombers in Game 2 of our playoff series. What else? Check out our Live Long and Podcast, our Star Trek theme channel, where we talk about Star Trek all the time. Like on Mondays, we talk about Star Trek Enterprise rewatch, going back 20 years ago. Oh, why is this working? Oh, that's wrong.
20 years?
That's right. There we go. And on Monday night, Star Trek Enterprise. Faith of the Heart. On Tuesdays, Jeff, Star Trek Deep Space Nine at 9-ish.
Come to Quark's is fun. Come right now. Don't walk. Run.
Check out that on Tuesdays.
Yep.
Of course, our Big Brother coverage here. And then in about a month's time, we'll be coming back for Star Trek Lower Decks, which is coming back on August 25th, right before the wedding, Jeff.
Mm-hmm.
And then what else? Obviously, Strange New Worlds, Discovery, Prodigy, all the new Star Trek shows that have come out. We have got reviews out there. Make sure to comment and subscribe on our Live Long and Podcast channel. Trivial Debates, our third channel, where we argue movies, TV, sports, and more in a game show format once a month. Jody just hosted the most recent edition on Sunday. You can check out that episode with Jeff and Davin and Chris all competing. It was a really good one. We'll be doing one towards the end of August as well. Keep an eye out for that one as well. And what else? We got our friends podcast, like Michael Chan and Alex Blackburn every Wednesday. They do the Hellbound podcast, a great horror themed podcast. My son Eamon has got Let's Talk About Fighting Games, which he does under his alias Sam Jerka. And then our cousin Davin Skellhorn. He's got Locutors of Trek, which he does with his friend Dave. They talk Star Trek over there, and he's got X-Men the animated series X-rated. And I might be making an appearance on that next week, talking about the episode with the Juggernaut. I'm the Juggernaut, bitch. That's the episode we might be talking about here.
How could you say these things?
Oh yeah.
How can you say these things?
So check out all our different podcasts. We hope you like it, and thanks for being with us tonight for the Big Brother Week 3 Power of Veto recap and analysis. All right, and let's go out on a clip here, Jeff, as we say goodnight. I think we gotta go with the Kyle. All right, here we go.
Bring your appetites, America, because the leftovers are about to become the main course. This is going to be insane.
And
this game is wild. I went from being completely alone to now being brought in as the key member of the Leftovers Alliance. I guess what Julie says is